All right, everyone. So it is 2:01, and this webinar was scheduled to start at 2 o'clock. So I guess we should get going here. So welcome, and thank you all for attending this webinar that will introduce the new CPKN LMS. So just before we get into showing you the new system, I'd like to go over a bit of housekeeping. If you could just mute your phone so that we can get rid of any background noise. If you do look over to the side, your control panel, there is an audio tab where it does provide our conference call-in number. So if you get bumped out at any time, you can just call back in. Feel free to just ask questions at any time. Just take yourself off mute, or otherwise you could raise your hand. There's an icon in the attendees list, and you can also just enter in a chat question as well. This other note I have there in case there's people on here that can see but can't hear us. So if you do have any problems with audio throughout this session, please contact Nadine directly. So the presenters today, for those of you who don't know me, or those that most of you do, I think, here, I'm Christine Richards, the Manager of Client Relations at CPKN. And with me I have my esteemed colleagues, Adam McDonald and Tom McDonald. And even though they have the last name, there is no relation between the two. But they are both exceptional at what they do, and they're great. It's great to have the opportunity to have a chat with both of them here about the new LMS. So the real purpose of our call today, it's really just to give you an update on the new system and give you a bit of a sneak peek so you can see what the user interface looks like, the portal admin interface, and some of the additional functionality, and then give you a chance to ask questions and talk about our next steps moving forward. So for the LMS, we've now got all the infrastructure in place so that we will soon be able to give you access to the system outside of our building. Right now you can only access it if you're here within CPKN, which doesn't really work very well for anyone on this call, unless you want to travel to see us, which you can all do so if you'd like. But in the next 2 weeks we will have access for you off-site, and we'll provide you with those details within the next 2 weeks. All right, so we'll just keep going there now. The one thing I do want to point out is this is definitely not a training session. It is really just an unveiling to show you what the system looks like and to give you an idea of what you're in for. Another thing I do want to point out is that we will be doing a security audit on the system. We'll have an outside consultant handle that, and we will provide those findings once they become available. And before we actually get into the system, I do want to point out that this is really just the development site, and it will change as we move through the process and work with you to customize your various learning portals. So without any further ado, here we go. We're entering the new LMS. So so as you can see right here, this is the login page to our new system. It is fairly similar to the existing LMS, and I'm sure similar to many LMSs out there. It's a little sleeker than our current system. Enter your username, password. You can hit forget password, same as ours. There is the functionality right here to change your language. You can change it to French. For any French organizations on the call, we will have to work with you to customize that language and make sure that it is Canadian French rather than European French. So I am going to have Adam, my colleague, log in for us here as a student. So this is the view for a student when they first log in to the CPKN, the new LMS. It is fairly similar to the existing. At first you look at it and it looks quite different, but when you take a look at it in more detail, you start to see, okay, here's all your registered courses. Here's your portal news, and right up here, instead of having your navigation bar on the left-hand side, these are really your navigation areas in this personal desktop and repository. These are the names that came with this system, and we will customize those so that it makes sense to your organization and to the learners. So the neat thing about this is the very basic view, and I wanted to keep it fairly simple for you so that it didn't overwhelm anyone. But I'm just going to have Adam go in, and he's going to show you how you can, some of the different things that you can add onto this view.
Okay, so at the top right of our screen, we're going to see the action arrow box. If we click on that, we can add different things to the learner's interface desktop. Things like calendar, mail, tags, bookmarks, and notes. We're going to go ahead and add mail and calendar here today. And these are just different widgets that can be added to the person's desktop to provide more information and more communication within the system. Each widget also has several different views. You can click on the settings and decide on what you want to view. The other one, for example, would be news. You could see different types of details. And these can also be positioned around depending on where the learner would like to have that information available to them.
So the good thing about this is we'll work with the portal administrators and the training team to figure out what you want your learner's view to look like. And so you can come up with the different views that they will have, but then once they're in there, they can actually change and move things around as they like.
Next, we'll take a peek at what the learner can do to kind of adjust their personal profile. If they click on Personal Desktop and select Data and Profile, they're able to change a few pieces of information about themselves, for example, their name or their profile picture, or even add in a Skype contact address. Up in Personal Desktop again, we'll scroll down and select Settings this time. This is where the learner would go in and adjust different settings based upon the system. In here, they can also do things with their password and also configure how mail will work within the system. Here you're going to see that incoming mail is set to local and forwarding. What that does is any message received by the learner will both go to the internal system, and you can see up here I have a message, and also to their remote email address that we have on file.
So the neat thing about this is that our current system, you can update your profile, but this system you can add additional information into that profile. And the neat thing about, while Adam's enrolled into some courses right here in the middle of the screen, what we're going to show you next is how you actually register into a new course, because this is where the whole piece around the mail system really plays into part. So in the current system, if you request a course, you just hit request course beside, so we'll go into the repository, which is essentially our catalog. And if we click on the CPKN courses and select a course, so as you can see here, he goes to register into the course. And instead of it just going to the portal administrator and then just clicking yes or no, he has the opportunity to write a message explaining why he wants the course. He can also send it directly to the portal administrator as well as his direct supervisor. And this can be linked not just through the LMS, but it can also be linked to your organizational email. So it will go directly to your email account. So that means as a portal administrator, you don't have to keep going back into the system to check to see who's requested a course.
Now we have the portal client administrator logged in on another machine, and we're going to demonstrate what it will look like to have a course either approved or rejected.
So now Adam has just requested, what course did you just request? Supervisor? You requested that beautiful course from Vancouver Police Service, I think.
I know, sorry, it was the first one in here.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So he's requested that course, and if he goes back to...
Up here you'll notice that my mail icon has changed to 2. There is a sync interval of about 1 minute between while those numbers update. But here we can see that we have been refused access, in this case, to this training module, and we can click in and just kind of view if there's any message that was sent back as to why. In this case, we just were refused.
And so that's a good feature. It's something that we don't have in our existing system, as you know. So So this way you can give people reasons for why they're not accepted into the course.
Now also, with the old system, there were certificates for courses after you were done. There's a couple different places where you can find your certificate inside the system. One is on the personal desktop, just underneath the course. You'll see that this has been passed. The learning progress is completed. We can simply click on that to view the certificate. And I'll show you one other place. There's the 3 places that you can actually view your certificate.
Before you go on to that, Adam, I would just like to point out that on this middle screen, it's kind of neat because it consolidates. In the older system, you have different tabs that you have to go to for your registered courses, completed courses, and all that kind of stuff. But this really consolidates everything into one. And you can actually customize this. So you can actually, so now that you've downloaded that certificate, he can actually click on the drop-down menu, and he can remove this course from his desktop. So if he removes it from there. So now it's gone, but then how do you get the certificate again? The great thing is he can now go into his learner progress.
In here is a list of all courses that have been either started, completed, or waiting to be completed. In this case, we do only have 3, but another place to find the certificate would be under Path here, clicking on the name. And then, in a consistent manner, up at the top right arrow, we can click Download Certificate. Throughout the entire LMS, there are these arrows that keep a consistent feel, but also provide similar functionality.
So that's pretty much it for what we'd like to show you on the learner interface for now. Adam has one more thing he'd like to a very important thing to show you is how to actually launch a course.
All right, to launch a course, you click on the title for the category, and inside you'll see the different objects inside there, the learning modules. We're going to click on Crime Scene Management for this example. And this will open in its own tab, and from there you can continue on with your e-learning.
And as you will see in this course, the layout's a little bit different than it is in I think the toolbar is just over on the left-hand side versus the right. And again, I think it's kind of neat how it changes colors as well on the side. But still, courses look great, and they fit onto the screen very nicely. So yeah, we will come back to some of the great thing that we really like about this tool and that we're excited about is all of the functionality that it does have. And the fact that we do have the expertise and capability to, if something doesn't exist, we can write the code to create that so we can add functionality within the system. So now I think we'll pass it over to Tom McDonald, and he will give you a demo of what it looks like for the portal administrators and the view that you will see. So we're just switching presenters here now. Many of you, I think, know Tom McDonald. Yes?
This is very interesting, and thank you for doing this. The blended opportunities that are put on CPKN. The way that I'm viewing this afternoon is that as a registration system, I could also put other courses on there that could be tracked. As an example, something that wasn't blended, but I wanted to use your LMS for it. So for example, a polygraph program at the college, I could put on that. Is that a correct assessment?
That is a correct assumption.
Thank you.
That was easy. Thanks, Errol. So now we have Tom. He's logging in as Bill Madison. I think that's from a movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Most of the users that we've created here are by default some Adam Sandler characters in case anybody was a fan. All right, so as you can see, I've gone with the more complicated view than Adam had. And again, this is all mainly just personal preference as to when you log in, what you want to see. Some of the things that I have available that Adam didn't have activated, you can see what active users are in the system. So basically this tells me who's currently logged into the system. And I can mail them back and forth if I have any questions or comments surrounding anything to do with them. One of the things you'll notice right off the hop as a portal administrator is you now have this extra tab at the top, an administration tab beside your portal, your personal desktop and your repository. Currently in here, this is the information that you'll have access to. General settings is basically just the general settings of the server. It's by default it has to be enabled so that way you can see the administration tab. I would doubt if any of you may be interested, I don't know, just to go in to see how the server's set up and the information that's there. Some of the stuff we're going to spend the most amount of time is in user management and organizational units. As most of you probably do now, with your user management, this is where you would add users, inactivate users. You can search for users here. One of the new features that we like about this, as you can see right here, we have this user that Brian Fleming has set up that has an expired next to his name. One of the things you can now do with your users is you can provide limited access to the portal. So if you want a member or a user to have access for a month, 6 months, depending on how long they're on contract, or events that you have going on, you can activate an account for a certain amount of time. Once that time limit is up, the member comes up as expired and they no longer have access to the portal. For most of your daily members, you would set them up as an unlimited access, and as it states, basically you have access to the portal for as long as you're active. You can also mark your users as inactive in here. Simply by clicking a box, and you can set them as inactive. You can change the time, as I say, to limited access. You can, anything you want to do basically to the user is done here.
The great thing about that limited access, and I know a lot of services take advantage of this, we don't have that limited access in our current system, but so we always end up having to inactivate members if you have volunteers or if you have civilians that you need on a training course for a short period of time. You can just set them to expire after a certain date.
We won't create one, but just to show you what the menu looks like, when you add a user, there is some basic default information that you would add. This is also where when you create the user, you can set it as limited or unlimited access. But as you scroll down through this, you'll start to see that there is a lot of information in this LMS that we don't currently capture in our existing LMS. And it'll be up to you to decide whether you want to avail yourself of that information or not.
Tom, am I allowed to ask a question?
Yep, by all means, George.
Yeah. George from Waterloo, that limited access, can it be specific with respect to a certain catalog?
That would be based off of a role, George. So basically when you create the user, you can assign them to a role. And based on whatever role they're assigned to, it gives them access to different catalogs information. So for the duration of that time, they would have only have access to what you wanted them to have access to. And you can actually get down to the hour and minute that you want them to expire.
Okay, thanks.
Another great thing about this system is that it does have auditing capabilities. So if a portal administrator makes any changes within the system, it will actually show you who made the changes and when they made those changes as well. Because I know sometimes that is the fact that we couldn't track when changes were made or if grades were updated. That's all fully functional in this system as well.
Okay, I'm just going to move on to the next tab. It's called Organizational Units. And basically within this would be similar to the organizational structure that you're familiar with seeing in your portals now. Some of you make use of this, others may not, so we're not going to get into a whole lot of depth, as depending on the service and depending on how you want to utilize this functionality will depend greatly on what your needs are internally. Just to give you a quick overview though, if we go under to the Ops Devs organization we currently have, you can click your staff to see who's available in this. And as you'll see, one of the things you can do now that is kind of a buried feature in the current LMS is you can actually mark a superior within that organization, as well as who the employees of that are. As a portal administrator, I don't have the, I'm here as a superior, and I can see who's underneath me.
Oh, that's good.
Hey, Tom, can you just go back to users for a second?
Sure thing, Sean.
Click the import users button.
Yeah, with this import user, Sean, there's
What are you going to allow us to do here?
Again, this will depend greatly upon the service. It depends on how much control you would like to have. We do have an XML file that we've produced, we have an XLS file that we've produced that will output the appropriate XML document, so that way you can import users. When you do your import, you can add users, you can update users, you can, it's kind of the same functionality we currently have. If you wanted to use this to do a bulk enrollment or a bulk assignment to groups.
I'm just wondering if you could download the responsibility to us, and then I wouldn't bother you anymore.
If you would like to do that, Sean, I can definitely do that for you.
And you're never a bother.
But I thought, having said that, I thought the whole idea that we were going to get this functionality put into a script to do automatically.
Yeah, basically what it will do, Sean, is, like I say, I'll provide you with a Excel document. You populate the Excel document as you like. You hit the button that says Export XML. It exports the document, you browse, and you import. And this is the same. I'm just going to flip out of here, Sean, for a second and go to organizational units. Within organizational units, you can also do an import. And when you do your import, you can update your organizations, you can create new organizations, and you can assign members to the organizations, and whether or not they are supervisors or employees.
Okay, so when I was talking to Adam before, the big ticket item was that I'm not going to see any of this, that you're going to have a view into our HRMS that will set up an export for you, and the system's going to go out nightly and grab our nominal role and import it and merge it.
I have Adam sitting right here.
We can do that as well. For this demonstration here, though, for the portal client administrator, we're just using default authentication through the LMS.
Okay.
That there is part of the administration tab that we don't have access to on this demo, but we will be showing in the additional features section.
Okay.
Yeah, basically what this is, Sean, is this is just your average run-of-the-mill portal administration settings. For some of our services, this may be all that they want and require.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
yeah. And like Adam says, we'll show you the full gamut, I guess, of what is available.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah.
And we'll only be touching on it today, but we want to do a webinar for each separate module independently, so we can go into more detail and answer more questions specifically related to that service.
Okay.
So a quick question, again, that URL, the prefix to the CPKN, is that a permanent one?
Not at all. Basically what that stands for on our dev site, on our development area, P stands for production. So in a production environment, this is what we would see. We have a D.ILEAD for development and that kind of thing.
So is it going to stay as learn.cpkn?
That is going to be negotiable client by client. We could also do learn your own domain name or something with our domain name, but we're flexible with that. Also, any old bookmarks that you have, we will be able to set up rewrite rules, so those will still be active.
Perfect, thank you.
Should we show how you register someone in a class?
Yeah, no, that was...
The next step?
Yeah. So under the administration tab, that'll be all. You can see some of the other basic stuff here that you may have access to, and we can answer questions on that at the end if there are any questions. What we'll take a look at now, under the mail feature, this is where we approve and deny courses. I can see that Adam sent me an email here about a class tomorrow. So there's lots of different things that you can email back and forth about here, and I can reply in kind. We'll look at the requests that came across here a little bit ago, and all of these requests stay in your inbox for as long as you would like. Any information that the user puts in to explain why they want to join a course shows up here as well, just like a regular email. As you can see within this, the subject is a request to join, and we go to this link to approve or deny.
So if you were receiving this on your remote email address, you could get this link on your phone, click the link, and approve this person to course registration.
So as you can see, we actually have still a pending request here. And with this, you can, if you select this, you can select multiple users at the same time, or just one out of many or multiples of, and you can assign, refuse, or send mail. So if you want the user to explain in more depth why they want the course, you can send a mail right from here and say, you know, why would you like this? This doesn't fit into your training program. Any of that kind of information. Again, you can also assign and refuse. By refuse, you get the email similar to what I did with Adam. And then if you want to assign them, basically just select assign, select the user, and execute. And this user has now been assigned to the course.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So right now that's one approval system, right? So they go to their supervisor or their NCO.
Yep.
Can there be two levels of approval systems in there where, for example, once the supervisor or NCO approves it, it then gets forwarded to, say, the training section who has the final approval?
I would have to say at this time, I would have to look into that. What you're suggesting there is a two-step approval process. I don't know if out of the box ILA supports that. However, given our internal capacities for development, we can definitely look at providing something like that.
Okay.
Christine,
Yeah.
attaching any billing or anything into all these course approvals and stuff? Like, will we be able to go in there and get billing on where we are and how much we spent and things?
Yeah, it's something we're looking at for down the road. It won't happen in the next 6 months, but maybe after that it's definitely something we can add on because it would definitely streamline the process and it would benefit all of us, I think, if it had that in there. We're also looking at an e-commerce piece where members could actually pay for the courses themselves in certain cases. So that will be added as well.
Okay.
Can I just follow on there, Christine? It's Harold again. Just in regards to the e-commerce piece, any of these reports, are they exportable into another database?
They will be exportable as a CSV file. From there, they could be brought into your database if you can map out the fields. Also, on a case-by-case request, we could build functionality that interfaces directly with your tool or provides it the output that you need.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Adam. That's a better answer than I could give you, Harold.
One other thing to note in this view, you can see that the name of the administrator of the course, and basically the administrator of the course could be different than the person who's doing the approval, because basically the administrator is almost like the owner of the course. You can set up multiple, again, it's out of the box terminology, they call them tutors, and tutors have a approval process. So Billy Madison does, if Sean O'Brien was in here, he could be a tutor and have approval process as well. And as you scroll down, you can also see the members who have been approved.
And right now we're really showing it just based on e-learning courses, but this can all be made available to in-class and classroom training as well. And you could have the instructors have different approvals than the portal administrators.
Yeah, one thing that we've kind of purposely done on this demo is to avoid the whole course setup, mainly because it's such an in-depth process and it's changed so significantly from what currently is a course. A course currently in our LMS is either a single SCO or multi-SCO collection of learning objects. But within this LMS, that changes very, very much. If anything, we'd have to probably, put together another call, allot another half hour, 45 minutes to go through all the options that we could have to set up a course. As we move forward and you guys get into the LMS, you'll start to see that it's quite a bit different. It's quite a different process.
And don't let that overwhelm you by any means. So I know in the next 2 weeks we will give you access to the system so you can go in and play around and see some of the functionality. And from there we will be scheduling one-on-one calls with each of your organizations to discuss your particular needs and how we do the needs analysis together and figure out what's the best customization or solution for your organization.
Now, just to pick up on what Christine said there, the course can be as simple as a single SCO. There's no question about it. But it can also be much more in-depth. So because there's such a variety of people on the call, services on the call, and I know that some services will want way more in-depth course structures, we've purposely kind of avoided that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for this demo. So based on that, as a general portal administrator, those are your day-to-day functions. I'm going to log out and I'll log in with my own account and just give you a quick look basically at what a full-blown administrator and some of the options that we have available.
So this here is just to really give you an idea of all the functionality that's available in this system. We've created your accounts, or we'll create your accounts with just some limited access so we don't overwhelm you too much. But then when we do have those one-on-one calls, we'll be able to go in with you and open up this administration tab of Tom's and figure out each piece that you want added in.
One thing I don't know if Adam or I actually mentioned, there's actually a tab you can add for system messages. And basically in this, as an overall system administrator, it tells you basically anything that's happened within the system. Again, it's a neat little feature. So under administration now, these are the objects that you have to deal with. As you can see, there's quite a bit more. Where the list over here, these are all the different objects that can be incorporated within a course. Even so much as you can just set up, I'm trying to see where it is on the list here, there's just so many of them. You can set up just basically a classroom session, and I think it might just be called session somewhere. But yeah, I can't remember exactly where on the list it is, and it might be actually when you're actually creating the course. But yeah, you can create a session which would be your in-class session.
You can even shop for any of the shoppers out there.
But yeah, these are all the defaults out of the box that come with the LMS. One thing to note, I know some of you use the terms of service. We call it a disclaimer. You have to approve every time you log in. Within Ilias, you can have a one-time authentication of that. So the first time you log in, it's called terms of service here. You would agree to the terms of service, and there's a record of who has agreed to that, and then you never have to agree to that again. So you still use the disclaimer, it's just in a different fashion, and you don't have to click that tiny little box every time you log in.
Christine?
Yeah?
Early on in our conversations about this, we kind of discussed on having it almost seamless in that the LMS would be our LMS. So we would have purview over it and stuff. Now, did you mean we have this kind of access that I'm seeing now, or the previous administration access?
Yeah, that would be, you would take a look through this and we'd work with you and figure out what access you need. And then as you change and evolve, we can keep adding more access within this administration section for you.
But correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, this is the highest level of admin access, right?
This is correct. But one thing to note is even within a portal, some of this high level of admin access propagates across all portals. Like we have right down here what's called the ECS, and what the ECS does, it's basically it's the way that we currently would share courses from one portal to the next. So you can actually go in and edit which courses are shared across the portals. So depending, you may not have access to the ECS side of things. But yes, this is the absolute highest level, and this propagates across multiple portals. So that, like I say, there are some things that you wouldn't necessarily have access to, but yeah.
Okay.
Put an asterisk by that.
The majority of it is available to everybody, though.
It would be different for an EDP course versus an NCN course. I know that.
Just a quick question on the calendars. Do we as administrators have the ability to control users' calendars? For instance, if we were to do a mass enrollment for a course and it would have a deadline of a specific date, can that be imposed on individual members' calendars as a reminder for them?
You can send out system messages.
Where's the calendar?
Again, one thing to remember when you're looking in here, this is where you go and you administer. You don't set values in here. So you can, as Adam's in here now, you can send out system messages, kind of similar to anything you could do with a Gmail or an Outlook, if that kind of makes sense.
It does, but can that be done on a systemic level or is that an individual level?
I believe the system messages are systemic. As you can see over on the left-hand side, when you send those out, I think they can propagate into the calendar. I haven't done that, George, but I would hazard a guess that is the way those function.
Okay, thank you.
From what I've tried before, you can send out messages or calendar items to groups and to roles and to organizational units.
Oh, good.
Now, also the calendar does export an ICS file, so your meetings do show up in Outlook, for example, or Gmail. Also, some parts about the news and system messages exports to RSS, which if you have set up and you have it remote access, can be brought into a person's Outlook as well, or Gmail, or Hotmail.
Another thing that we haven't really touched on is the system. You can put competencies within the system. I know Tom has looked at this a little bit.
Yeah, and I don't know how deep we want to get into that, but you can use the system for competency management. I've set up a couple just for myself for trial. I have a general competencies tab. Within here, I have one able to do the first thing and the second thing. And within able to do the first thing, you can set what level, and you can assign resources to that. So to do the first thing at a beginner level, you have to be part of this group, and you have to have completed this training. So you can set up and manage your competencies. As with a lot of outcome-based learning and certifications and that kind of thing, it's up to the user to go in and say, I've completed this competency. And they can go and, because one thing to remember is that within a competency, training and education can occur outside of the LMS. So they can go and say, I've done this training in a classroom session outside of my service, but it's approved by this group, and you can connect it that way, and you can track all that via self-assessments and that kind of stuff within the LMS. So as far as competencies go, it is a very, again, it's a powerful tool if you want to avail yourself of that, but I'm not sure where within your individual services competencies lay.
Any other questions out there? We can take it back to this view here just to show you some of the administrative. This is kind of just to show you all the different things that are available. So if there's something in here that you see that interests you, we can tell you a little more about some of these different features.
Hi, Christine.
Hi.
Just wondering about, we saw somebody looking at their own progress. What does the administrator or a tutor see for a group of people?
You're talking about reporting boards, and we're currently evaluating various plugins to provide that, as well as looking at determining whether or not we should produce our own.
Okay.
Just because, again, as you're well aware, reports are very difficult out of the box to say this works and this works well.
Okay, so you guys are on it, but
yeah, no, it's definitely on our list. As you can see here, you can get an overall view of a course, but to get into the nitty-gritty of things, it's just not quite there yet.
Okay. Thank you.
Tom?
Yep.
When you let us play inside of here, are you going to give us like the limited administration access, or would you like to give us all of it and find out what we need to use?
The way I will answer that, Sean, is that we will have a talk with you.
Okay.
Well, can I ask one more question?
Sure.
So on the screen here that you have up right now where it says access number 17, time spent user 8 minutes.
Yeah, that's an average time spent.
Yeah, that's fair. Is there also the ability to add when they logged on, like what date?
What you're looking at here is a general overview of the course. This is not specific to any individual user.
Yeah.
So when we look at the reporting side of things, there's definitely the ability to do that.
Perfect.
Does the report capture the number of attempts and log the number of attempts?
It will. Yeah.
Yeah. As you can see here, even there's your access. It tells you how many times the course has been accessed. However, there's only 3 people that are.
It's probably Adam 3 times.
We are looking into ad hoc reporting as well. So you'll be able to select basically any data point that you'd like and compare it against something else and run your export. But that is still in development in the very early stages. We're also looking at a plugin that has been developed by a university in Europe to see if it's similar to what we'll need. And we know reporting is very, very important, so it's a very high priority for us.
And the difference is, and this is used often in universities, and their reporting is a bit different than it is for police services. So we do realize that your needs are unique in knowing that someone has completed and when they've completed and all that kind of stuff, and that they have their certification in something. So we will move over. There's about 5 reports that are the most commonly used within the CPKN system, and a lot of them beyond that, there's not. It's really just 5 main reports that we'll start with in this system, and then from there work with you to create other reports as needed.
Can I ask a question here, York Regional Police?
Yep.
Is it possible to take us through how a user signs up for a classroom session that has an assigned date and time set to it?
Yeah, honestly, Joe, it would be the exact same process that you saw with the course that Adam launched. Basically, you would click on the course title, you would select join, and then an email goes to the appropriate, in the system it's called tutor, to say yes or no, this person can attend the course or not.
Yeah, Tom?
Yep.
Is that actually our course there, the first on theme?
More or less, yes. For the purposes of testing, I took the exam out so that way we could just kind of slide through to the end to mark it as complete without having to do the assessment.
Okay, but it's our storyline course, right?
Yes.
You fired up to see what storyline looks like?
Yep, sure. One thing too, while I'm doing this, I know some of you are currently doing this, But the way that an administrator consumes learning resources is different than a user. So if you have to consume the courses for training yourself, I'd recommend having an administrator account as well as a student account.
Yeah, okay. Also, with that, are you going to do the same thing and have two, like a stage server and a live server, or is there something in Ilias that allows us to test courses on the live server before we make them live for everybody?
There's a twofold answer I can give you that, Sean. I don't know if we're going to go with a stage or not, and you can load courses and not make them public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they'll have the functionality so that they, in some cases,
Yes.
to load the course yourself.
Yeah, when you load the course, one of the settings is whether or not you want to make it online. As soon as you make that course online, available in that catalog, then people can see it. As long as it's marked as an offline course, then as a tutor, an author, and an administrator, you can go in and you can see that course and evaluate it.
Yeah, because I mean, like with this thing, we would like to upload as many times as we want, test it. But it was the whole, hey Tom, can you move this course over thing that we want to sort of get rid of.
Yeah. So this is what a storyline course looks like on the system. It looks very similar to.
Where's the menu that allows you to navigate through the course, though? Is it there, or?
Again, that's a setting when you set up the course. You can show your SCORM navigation or not.
Right.
So
you just took it out. Okay.
Yeah, just very basic settings. When I loaded the course, just dropped it in. We needed to populate some courses into the LMS, so basic get it done. Yep.
It works. That's great.
Yep.
Oh, and was there any trouble with that, Tom? Like, did you have to? I know we made some specific modifications for it for the current.
No. It was fine. Again, I'm trying to avoid the whole course setup thing, but one thing as we get into this, if you wanted to take your homicide course and if you had a couple other investigative courses that you wanted to include in a course, you can load multiple SCORM modules that you have to complete within that course, and the course is not complete until all of the SCORM modules are done.
And you can combine that with your classroom courses as well.
Yeah.
So if you have some online training that needs to be done before you get into that class, so then they don't get the certification until they finish the online, the in-class, the online, the in-class, or however you set that up.
Yeah.
Actually, moreover, we'd be looking at having multiple SCORMs as like a single course, where there'll be multiple little courses inside one main course.
Exactly, and then you could have one assessment to test knowledge on all of those courses at the end if you want, or assessments throughout to do that as well. Yeah, no, it can be, and that's what I say, when we set up a course now, it's so different than what a course currently is in the LMS.
Yeah, but we'll be able to do this, like I have one course on, let's say, 3 different items.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that an officer has gone through the course and then completed 1/3 of this, completed the course on this one item with a SCORM, and the other 2 items will have other SCORMs. So we can test on that the officer hasn't completed all 3, but just 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Felicia in Hamilton.
Hey.
Can I ask a question?
By all means.
For those of us who are just starting out in the whole portal world, can we just sort of back the knowledge truck up a little bit, and what type of software are we suggesting that, like, if we want to start out and we want to upload courses, first of all, what type of software are we suggesting that we use? Is it like Articulate Storyline, and how do we go about uploading our own stuff versus having to bug you guys all the time?
To upload, we'll have to provide a manual on how to upload the course into the LMS. Again, just because it's different for various LMSs. As far as course development goes, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that CPKN can develop your courses for you. That being said, there are various tools, and one of the nice objects that we're currently exploring is within the LMS you can publish a course, and you can export it as a SCORM course as well.
So you can take your raw, so if you have a PowerPoint, you can just,
I'm not going to say you can just take the PowerPoint and drop it in because I haven't explored the tool enough, but the tool, within the LMS, you will be able to publish courses, SCORM courses, HTML courses, The LMS also supports SCORM 1.2 as well as 2004 version 3, I believe. But yeah, if you were looking to use another third-party tool, I know there are various people on the call here that would recommend Storyline. It's a simple-to-use tool. There's
Captivate.
Yeah, there's Captivate.
Articulate 13.
There's Articulate 13. It's more of a suite, and I think the knowledge to use that increases a bit because you're importing Quizmaker files into a different format to create the course, where within Storyline you just build the course and the quiz all together.
So Articulate 13 is more of a one-stop shopping type of software.
Again, as it says, Articulate Suite is actually a suite of tools used to develop a course, where Storyline is a single tool used to develop the course. I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but I know there are a couple folks on here that use Storyline. Sean mentioned that they use Storyline. If you want to talk to one of them afterwards, I'm sure they'd be more than happy to discuss it with you.
But if we came up with some sort of software, like let's say we finally pick one, then we can do all this uploading ourselves, yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Are you guys considering using XAPI?
It is actually on the list of not just for us, but for the Ilias group to explore using. Yeah, it's on everybody's list. It's on the radar for pretty much anybody that does it. It's one of these things that has to come. I think that there's quite a bit of the cart before the horse on the XAPI in the e-learning world, as far as things like Storyline being able to produce XAPI courses. However, trying to find an LMS that will use them is difficult. We're definitely looking at that, though. Basically, we have a feature list, I guess, is a good way to put it.
Sure.
Yeah.
You do know when you talk features and computers, right? It's a bug.
Oh, yes.
So we have about 5 minutes left of our call here. Just if anyone has any last questions, we'd be more than happy to answer those. But before we take any last questions, just wanted to reiterate that the next steps are I will be in touch with each of you to discuss how you want to move forward with the system, getting you access to the system, and you can start playing around with it, seeing what you can do, and then as you need more functionality, we'll keep having those discussions and figure out what's going to work best for your organization.